Hello, hello! I've come outside to try to film the intro for the cornflake top. Today I want to show you some of the detailing in the cornflake top. That is the top that I'm currently wearing. It's my latest summer knit design and I'm so excited to finally release it. Okay, it's super windy here. Not easy to film outside. Okay, I'm totally backlit now, but I'm trying to do it for the sound. So in this video, I want to show you the crochet edge scallop detail in the cornflake top, which I think really personally is the showstopper in this piece. So I designed this. This was the first summer knit. I started design for 2026, and I have been wanting to try to do something with crochet for the longest time, and now I finally did it. And I realized that if you're a knitter, you might not be so familiar with crochet, so I thought I'll make this a video where I show how to crochet the scallop edge and kind of give you an overview of the project. I am knitting a second cornflake top in a really gorgeous green. I'm using Knitting for Olive pure silk held double in the color pea shoots. The cornflake top is worked in a DK weight yarn. For the first one, I use Sandnesgarn Line in the color Lys Gul 2112, I think is the color code. So that's a DK weight yarn, but you could also hold 2 strands of fingering weight yarn double to get that same gauge. And the gauge, I will put it on the screen here. I cannot remember now off the top of my head, but it's a really nice, fun summer top to be wearing. I think for this one, I'm also gonna try to make a contrasting scallop edge and give you some tips on that. But without further ado, let's go straight into this little guide. It's not gonna be like a full tutorial, even though I'll give you the overview, but yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so let me give you an overview of how the cornflake top is worked. So you actually begin by working the upper back. So the cornflake top is worked top down seamlessly. You cast on stitches here for the neck, and then you start working flat. So that means back and forth, and you increase here for these necklines. And I'll show you actually what it looks like when you're in the process of knitting it. So this is kind of the piece that you begin with. You can see here, and they're increased here for these shoulders. Then you continue, you have this border, you have some increases here for these armholes, and then you pick up stitches for the front separately. So first here from the left front, and then you will do the same for the right front. And you have some decreases here for the armholes, and then you start to increase for the neckline. And that will also happen for both sides. And then once that is done, then you will join the left and right front on the same needle, and again continue working back and forth, so flat, and you have some increases here for the armholes. Then once the upper front is complete, you connect the upper back stitches with the upper front stitches and continue working the body in the round in seed stitch. So you do that for quite a bit of time, and we do have some decreases here happening at the side seams. And then to finish off, we have this border, gorgeous border, that is just like a variation in the theme of this border that is here at the upper front and also at the upper back. And then, of course, the finishing touch, and the one that I will really show in depth here in this guide, is the crochet scallop edge that is worked around the neckline, the armholes, and also here for the hem. For the cornflake top, you actually only need 1 knitting needle, so I'm using a 3.5mm needle, but check the gauge in the pattern to see what needle size you should use. And then you also are gonna need a crochet hook, because we're gonna do those scallop edges. I'm using crochet hook 3.5, I think depending on your tension. You might also need to use a 4mm or a 3mm. That's really something that you kind of need to try out just to see that you get a scallop edge in the chosen yarn that you've chosen that works for you. So it might take some trial and error, but 3.5mm is the one that I recommend in the pattern. And then of course it's good to have some stitch markers handy as always, because we're gonna use those in various places in this pattern. So to begin, I want to show you basically the whole upper part of the top. So I've already begun. So here you cast on stitches, and I have lots of tutorials here on my channel showing the increases. So there are make one right, make one left increase is used in this pattern. Also make one left purl, make one right purl, increase is used, and I will link to videos showing exactly those techniques if they aren't familiar to you. But essentially you cast on, then you work this part where you do these increases along these lines, and then you have a border, and then you do the seed stitch. You always have 2 edge stitches here that are knitted on the right side and worked in purl on the wrong side. So you can see just like a really nice edge, which will just help so much when we work that crochet edge. Then you pick up stitches here for the left front and work this left front. And I thought I will now show you, just give you some tips on how to pick up stitches. So I'm gonna work my right front here next. In the pattern, you place stitch markers at the cast on edge or at your preparation row in the first and last stitch. So that's this stitch marker here, and then after you've completed the increases, you also place a marker, and that's just to help now so we know where we need to begin and where we need to end up when we pick up these stitches. So I need to begin here, and you can remove this marker now. And I'm going to be, so you have these 2 edge stitches, basically these knit stitches, and I want to kind of have, you can see this line, which creates like a really nice detail. So I'm gonna make sure that I get that knit column line. So I will put my needle or insert my needle here into that kind of first stitch so that I then continue and follow that same line all the way through. I am picking up stitches from every row here, from every stitch here, along this entire edge, all the way to this stitch marker that I placed here at the beginning. Now I can go ahead and remove this marker, and I need to pick up one more stitch, and it's good to check that you have the amount that you need at this point. All right, like so. So there I've picked up my stitches. So now we're gonna work this border that starts from the wrong side of the row. We have 2 edge stitches that are always purled on the wrong side and knitted on the right side. So you always have that stockinette stitch edge on each of these pieces. All right, I have now completed both my left front and the right front, and I've transferred my stitches back from the left front onto my working needle. So the next step is we're gonna start working the upper front all together. So we're gonna join these 2 fronts, and we're gonna cast on new stitches here for the middle of the neckline. So let me show you how to do that. So you've ended up on a wrong side row. So next we have a right side row. So we're just gonna continue first and knit the right front stitches. Now here you will see when you come to your last 2 stitches, so these have been the edge stitches, we're gonna just now continue working them in seed stitch. So I will purl and knit this last stitch. All right, so those are all the right front stitches. So now I want to cast on new stitches for the middle of the neckline. So I'm going to use the backwards loop cast on method. So basically just grab the yarn, and then I go over, up and over with my thumb so that I can cast on new stitches. And here's always good to be mindful that you don't twist these stitches when you're going to join in then the left front. All right, so there we have it, our new middle of neckline stitches. And then I'm just gonna grab my left front stitches and then connect these. Here again, for these first 2 stitches that have been my edge stitches, we're just now gonna incorporate them into the seed stitch. Next, I want to show you the real showstopper of the cornflake top, which is the crochet scallop edge. So first we're gonna tackle round number 1, and here I'm gonna do the hem. So for the hem, I've actually not cut the yarn, but I left it on a stitch marker, so I can just pop the stitch marker away, and then I can just insert my crochet hook straight into this loop. So you don't have to join or attach new yarn, which you will have to do for the neckline and the armholes. All right, first up is round number 1 of the scallop edge, which is a round of single crochet stitches. So you are going to work a full round of single crochet stitches, and here for the hem, the rhythm is you're gonna work 9 single crochets per every 10 knit stitches. So there's like a little bit of decreasing going on, and the way you do this is you insert your hook, you grab some yarn, and then you will end up with 2 loops on your crochet hook. You will wrap some more yarn and you take it through. So that's a 1 single crochet. So let's do that again. So you insert your hook just below your bind off edge, wrap some yarn, take it through, Then you have 2 loops, and then you're gonna wrap some new yarn and take it through both of those loops. And then you just repeat all the way around. So you always go in through just below that bound off edge, wrap yarn, have 2 loops, and then you take some yarn through both of those loops. All right, so now I've completed the full round of single crochet in just the same yarn color that I used for the cornflake top. Now, if you're just gonna use the same color and not the contrasting color, you're just gonna move on to round 2. I, however, am gonna use a contrasting color. I'm gonna use Knitting for Olive. This is, I believe, the Poppy Rose color way. So I'm actually first gonna work a round of single crochet, an additional round essentially of single crochet stitches, just because that creates a neater edge. So if I would directly go with the contrasting color, it might look a little messy. So just working in the same color that round first, I will make sure that I get a really neat edge then when I have that contrasting color. All right, so here I'm gonna just do a slip stitch into that first stitch. So this is still my first round, and just do a slip stitch in the first single crochet of this round to kind of wrap that round to an end. So I do a slip stitch, grab some yarn, and take it through both of my loops. And now I can join in my contrasting color. So again, I'm gonna do round 1, repeat it once more, and this is only done if you are working with a contrasting color. So there I get my contrasting color, and then I'm gonna repeat, and now I'm gonna go in through each of these single crochet stitches and repeat exactly the same. So I take my hook through, then I wrap some yarn, and then I take it through both of these loops and repeat all the way across the entire round. And now here you can see what a nice and neat edge it creates, and that's really done because we've done that first preparation round of single crochet stitches, so this just looks really, really nice and polished. All right, next up we have round number 2, and I already gone ahead and worked a little bit of round number 2, so you can kind of see what we're gonna get into. So we're essentially gonna create these kind of loops with some chain stitches, and then we're gonna attach them. So let's go ahead and do that. So you are going to just make a chain of 4 stitches. So the way you do that is just by you wrapping some yarn and taking it through the loop that you have on your hook. And then you do that 4 times. So 1, 2, and a 3rd chain, and then a 4th. So a chain of 4 stitches. And then you're gonna now count 2 of those crochet, the single crochet stitches. You're gonna count 1 and 2, and then you're gonna insert your hook into the 3rd stitch. So the 3rd next stitch. So I'm just gonna insert my hook underneath both of those loops, grab some yarn, and then I'm gonna take it through that loop that I have on my hook already. So pull it all the way through. This can be a little bit tricky, but it's doable, I promise. All right, and we have created one of these chains. So let's do that once more. So wrapping the yarn, taking it through, chaining 1, 2, an additional 3 and 4. So we have a chain of 4 stitches, and then again skipping 2 stitches. So I'm counting here now 1 and 2, and then I will go insert into the 3rd stitch of these single crochet stitches and wrapping yarn and taking it through that one single loop on my crochet hook. All right, and that is what you're gonna do around the entire round. Next, let's move on to round number 3, where the magic happens. So here in round number 3, you can really start to see this scallop edge, and this is also the final round. So we're gonna work 4 double crochet stitches into each of these chains. So first we start by wrapping some yarn around the crochet hook, and next I'm gonna be inserting in my hook underneath this space. So not into, but under that chain, wrapping some yarn, taking it through, and then you will end up with 3 loops on your crochet hook. So we wrap some more yarn again, and then I'm going to bring it through all of these 3 loops. So wrap yarn and take it through all those 3 loops, and that's 1 half double crochet stitch done. Then again, we wrap yarn, go underneath that space, wrap some yarn, take it through again, and then you have 3 loops, and then you're going to wrap some yarn and take it through all of those 3 loops. So we're gonna work 4 double crochet stitches into each of these chains. So once again, you wrap some yarn, you go through, wrap some yarn, go back out where you came in from, and then you wrap yarn through all of those 3 loops. And once you've done that 4 times, you're gonna again attach it on that same space that we attached on round number 2. So I'm gonna insert my needle, take some yarn through that loop on my hook, and that way you're gonna attach your scallops. And now you can really see the scallop edging. So you're gonna work through round 3 all of these chains. You're gonna work these 4 double crochet stitches into each of this chain, and then just always attach it into that 3rd stitch that we worked also on round 2. All right, now that is it, and here is my finished hem of crochet edge. So you can really see it's very pretty in this contrasting color. Here I've also worked one of the armholes, and one little note I want to give you is that if the armhole looks quite big when it's off your needle, that's okay, because actually the crochet edge will probably make it shrink a little bit, and I will show you just for comparison. So my crochet armhole and the non-crochet armhole, so you can see that's quite a significant shrinkage, so that's just good to be mindful about. So in the pattern, when it feels like okay, the armhole looks big, don't worry, when you are going to do the crochet edge, that just tends to shrink quite a bit. All right, and here is how the green top turned out. I will insert some photos or footage here. I think it's really nice to see it in a different color. It's so nice to see how it turned out. On Ravelry, you can see the test knitters projects, and hopefully you'll upload yours as well. And of course, you can also use the hashtag Cornflake Top if you share your work on Instagram. I'm always really eager to see, and you can find me over at Instagram at cottagecore. So come and say hi and find out more of what I'm doing behind the scenes. All right, take care and see you in the next one. Bye.